The Platypus had a lot of potential when it dropped. Its big value initially was a well-fit handmade gun with completely custom finish for an expensive but super reasonable price. My initial gun that I ordered at the beginning of last year had the best spec other than the RMRCC cut that I decided to have. I had an extra optic laying around and that was a bad decision. But fast forward to now and I've got to go hands-on with the new features that the Platypus has to offer. And what's interesting is when you improve things just a little bit, it's funny how much better the whole thing ends up being, and this thing is much better than it used to be. Welcome back to the Humble Marksman channel. I'm David, and this is an updated Stealth Arms Platypus, and it is much better than the one that I ordered about a year ago. Not so much on like the execution because they're both made the same, excellent spec. It's just that this one has all the specification and features that I generally would want, and they weren't available at the time that this was ordered. And I'll talk you through that, but I do want to acknowledge that this is a loaner gun that was sent to me by Tim at Stealth Arms. No money changed hands or anything like that. Full disclosure, there you go. But before we get started, I do want to acknowledge the dads in the audience and honor you with this. What do all guys have and all women want? It starts with a P and ends with an S. Pockets. I know where your mind went on that one, and you just need to get it together, man. All right, so getting started, let's talk about what this gun is. It is a double stack 1911 with an aluminum frame in 9mm with a 5-inch bull barrel. Check that out. As you see it here, it's basically the crowd pleaser from their website with the prickle texture, the bull barrel, and the straight trigger. If you're watching this video, I feel like you already know that this thing takes Glock mags, but it takes Glock mags, so there's that. The cost on this gun as option in the early fourth quarter of 2020 is about two big ones, which for a double stack gun that you can do your own custom Cerakote on is a great price. One of the big dangers of the Stealth Arms gun builder is that you can change the color on literally anything. And it's kind of like one of those build your own stir fry places where if you don't know what you're doing, you just end up kind of throwing everything in a bowl. That's not at all what happened on this gun. This was super intentional and well thought out. Today's video is brought to you by Hunters HD Gold and Active Blue. That's AKTIVEBLU.com. If you're looking for a performance glass that provides photochromic, meaning they get darker in the sun, as well as progressive polarization up to 80%, which will let you see about 6 feet into water and still allow you to see the screens on your electronic devices. On the Hunters HD side, they've always had kind of weird frames, but they've updated the frames. These are the Marksman frames, which are actually my preferred for competition, not because it's just a convenient name, but I mean, I really like how small the temples are. It doesn't, occlude my vision on the side. My peripheral vision is preserved. And similarly, the slingshot frames are excellent as well. I've competed with both and highly recommend them. So thank you to Hunters HD Gold and Active Blue for sponsoring the video. You can check out your own performance eyewear at either huntershd.com or activeblue.com. But anyways, despite my lack of an artistic eye, my last gun had issues about it. Not like problems, just things that I didn't love about it. The biggest complaint that I had is that the grip texture, this is their chain link grip texture, with the Cerakote finish just didn't provide a lot of traction. I mean, it locks in very well geometrically, but it didn't have a lot of bite or traction to kind of get the support hand in recoil management. The other thing I didn't love about it is that it is a bushing barrel, as you can see there, whereas now there are bull barrels. Other item that I don't love is it's got a 2-piece guide rod. That's still in the new gun, but it's different in a certain way. Fast forward to this guy, and it's got a bull barrel, which is awesome. It adds a very much needed amount of mass to the gun with the aluminum frames, which weigh, not a lot. The bull barrel does make the shooting experience much, much nicer. The prickle grip texture is very much kind of a Goldilocks type texture. I've got like super sandpapery palms because I grip a lot of guns, and I think it's great. It doesn't make me uncomfortable. I suspect that people with, softer computer hands will probably, in longer range sessions begin to, feel the texture on this, but I think it's a very good texture. I in no way would I want to carry it. So if this is something you're looking at as a carry gun, I don't think a prickle texture is probably the right way to go. The guide rod is still a 2-piece guide rod, but they drilled a cross slot so that you can treat it like a 1-piece guide rod. And fair warning, friends, if you are using a 2-piece guide rod, what you don't want to do is to lock the slide back and just crank on the guide rod, just, over tightening it, you can cause damage to your frames when you do that. There's also an ambi safety, which was not a feature when I ordered my original Platypus. The prickle grip is very good at getting some bite into your palm up here when you're using your support hand, so the gun just becomes a lot more controllable between the bull barrel and the prickle grip. Similarly, a new feature that is on there is the RMR cut, so the slide actually is milled out of wider material, and they just kind of move it down because the RMR screws are unreasonably far apart for a pistol slide, so guns with skinnier slides like 1911s end up needing just a thicker slide. And the proof's in the pudding on those two features. I shot this gun side by side with the 5-inch Prodigy. I know what some of you guys say about the Prodigy, but it is one of the softer shooting guns, and for the 2011 thing up to, I don't know, probably at least the $3,000 pistols, just typical aluminum grip guns, don't shoot as softly as the Prodigy in my experience. And this gun is reasonably close. Prodigy still a little bit softer, but it's significantly closer than a bushing barrel gun. And I mean, just generally, I would say that this is more suited to a competition gun, whereas with the old bushing barrel guns, you can do it, but they're very lightweight and they're a little bit snappy. This one is a lot more predictable with how it moves and isn't dumping as much energy into your arms. Now, I don't have a ton of rounds through this gun. This one's got well over 1,000 rounds through it at this point. It didn't really have any issues to speak of. The crew at Stealth Arms are constantly looking at small details. The slide cuts are actually, they look the same between these two, the actual like detailing and the cuts, but the cuts are a little bit different to improve kind of the traction on the cuts. And they're just tweaking little stuff, like right over here, this ledge under the ambi safety on my old gun, it kind of pokes me in the base of my trigger finger knuckle. It's not a big deal. I can feel it on especially longer range sessions, and that's been kind of smoothed away on this one, which is pretty cool. It's just really awesome to see a company that's as responsive as Stealth Arms is. Their customer service has been generally exceptional. All of the issues I've read about online, they have absolutely made that person happy and gone the extra mile to service them in that. So, I mean, while it is a expensive pistol, you definitely feel special kind of like ordering it, being able to spec out all your colors, and then they take care of you in case anything happens to go wrong with the pistol. With the new specification, this is kind of what I like to see in the double stack 1911 space, and so I'm happy that the Stealth Arms is now where it could be, and I'm very interested to see where they can continue to take the platform. Another thing that they changed, and it's kind of worth mentioning, is that they actually changed the spring weight on the 5-inch guns that they're shipping out, and it's just a much nicer, you don't have to mess with the springs at all. It's squared away out of the box. As far as stuff that I'd still like to see be done on the pistol, I wouldn't mind some more usable serrations. The window cut kind of stops where the serrations can go on the slide, and that's, I mean, effectively you're catching the last serration when you go to rack it. So maybe updating the slide serrations would be cool. I would like to see a steel frame just because I like heavier guns, and maybe a 3/4 rail, not a full length rail as an option. I just think that those look really cool. I don't think it's going to do a ton. May help the gun not dip in return quite as much, but as it sits right now and how low it sinks that SRO onto the slide, it's just an absolutely brilliant gun, and something that you can be super proud of to pull out of the safe and show people. It's just, the build quality is truly excellent. And these are just great guns all around. If you want to see my video on the old Platypus and see how we got here, that you can watch that video right here.